A winter night in Moscow at the International Music House, the audience is arriving to celebrate 25 years of the Moscow Male Jewish Choir. They're all dressed up, fur coats, bunches of flowers. The great and the good are here. The choir's director is Alexander Tsaliuk, Sasha.
This is your big evening.
It's a big evening. And a crazy house, as usually.
There he is, a thin man darting by in his dinner jacket, with huge eyes and a bigger smile.
How are you feeling?
It's okay, more or less. Adolf Solomonovich Shayevich, Chief Rabbi of Russia.
And he's gone into the crowd, saying hello, kissing, laughing. That's Sasha for you, a whirlwind. The choir is the only one of its kind in Russia, performing Jewish liturgical songs and ballads in Hebrew and Yiddish, a repertoire all but silenced in Russia's turbulent 20th century by godless communism, anti-Semitism, waves of emigration of Jewish Europeans, and the catastrophic Second World War. Add to that powerful mix jazz and Russian film music.
I should tell you that this choir never been an instrument of making money, because we always been like a museum exhibit. Nobody paid us, nobody support us properly. We do that as a slice of the fantastically enriched Jewish culture, Jewish musical culture. We want to bring the level of that music and put it on top of the world to show this beautiful music to people who nothing know about it.
The concert is the perfect performance. Beneath it, though, lie dozens, hundreds of rehearsals, evenings like this one.
Life here is really difficult. I should say that I spent for my education, maybe one of the best in the world, in Moscow Conservatory, 24 years. I started when I was 5 years old, because it's endless process. You know, I think you must study until the last day of your life.
My name is Joseph Malovany. I'm the chief cantor of the Fifth Avenue Synagogue in New York City. In addition to that, I am distinguished professor of Jewish liturgical music.
Joseph Malovany has been an inspirational figure for the choir since its foundation.
The idea is to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Moscow Jewish Choir. This choir has grown and grown to be, to my opinion, one of the best Jewish choirs in the world, if not the best, because it combines in it traditional Jewish singing plus Russian musical tradition. And Russian musical tradition is tremendous. I don't speak Russian, but I understood them and they understood me, and I love it. If I do any improvisation, which is not written in the music, but as a cantor I am allowed to improvise based on certain scales and on motifs which belong to that particular prayer, this choir I look at them, I may not look at the public, and we wink to each other and we understand each other exactly what's about to happen as a result of the improvisation.
The essence of Russia, for Sasha, is the unadorned human voice.
Russia is a very musical country, and Russians are very, very musical by nature. And all the people are singing in this country, especially before, not now. Now, unfortunately, tradition is completely ruined. But before, in every single village, you could find each babushka could come out and sing whatever you want.
So the voice is central.
Yes, the
to
voices
that.
was very deep, rich, without teaching. They had ears, they had very good vocal traditions, solo traditions. Because Russian Orthodox Church always used choirs, and that choirs sang always a cappella, because instruments like in synagogue was completely forbidden, and it was a very old tradition since 15th, 14th century maybe. Choral singing in the church and secular singing also. Strongly arranged for many voices in the vertical, in the harmonies, yes. When they sing, you can feel goosebumps on your skin, because it's very unusual, very unusual.
Before the revolution of 1917, Jewish community life was developing in Moscow. The choral synagogue, with its well-known choir, drew star cantors from the great European centres of Jewish life, like Gershon Sirota. The founding moment for Sasha's choir came in the late 1980s, under Mikhail Gorbachev's glasnost, when American Jewish philanthropists arrived in Moscow eager to recover some trace of this lost heritage.
It was in Lenin Library, and these guys, brought them boxes. It was a fairy tale for me, a real fairy tale. Imagine that you are a young boy, you come to the basement. Maybe somebody was killed in this basement, like in 1930s, I have no idea. But they brought these big boxes full of dust. They cracked this, how you call this? Seal brown, dark brown, this surguch we call. So they cracked and they opened and they found old calendars printed before the revolution, old sidurs, prayer books. Among these papers they found handwritten separate voices for second tenor, for baritone, for bass, music. And we started singing them. And it was very beautiful music. And we sing this music until now. Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev gave us an official permission, and he came to the concert in 1996, and I have pictures here. I remember the spirit, the time. You know that people in this country, they hate Gorbachev. They blame him in all bad things. But I think one day they will understand what this man did for them. I respect him very much. Oh, I understand that he was the same party leader, but he liberated the world from the nuclear war. That's number one. He liberated that country from Communist Party. That's number two. And he gave them a chance to be free.
So what does it mean now to be Jewish in Moscow?
Do you have enough tape in your tape recorder? This is something very special. It was like this years and hundreds of years ago here, and it is still in everyday life. It is still. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult and very special. Jewish people, not official, enemies of our majority. But still in everyday life, they will always remind you who you are. Always. With great pleasure. Yes, it's difficult. It's really difficult. Сделаем за третьим разом. За третьим разом, пожалуйста. Oi, 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 what a traffic today. Every day in this place. When somebody goes from Kremlin, usually they blocked that road and you can stay here for 2 hours more, just waiting until they go.
And off we go across Moscow in Sasha's old Audi, packed with plastic crates full of scores, a musical academy in a car boot.
Okay, tell me first how you're... Алло? Да?
Since we met 3 years ago, I've never known Sasha offline or off the phone. 3 or 4 in the morning Moscow time, he'll be on Skype, trying to raise grants for the choir, chatting to friends across the world.
Все хорошо, сейчас. Не надо, сейчас мы куда-нибудь заедем. Давай, все. Привет, Сонечка.
Привет.
Ку-ку. Okay, so one by one, because it's, we call it Mickey Mouse apartment. This apartment, I was born actually here. I spent all my life here. My grandmother used to live here, and my grandmother used to live at the same court. It was a barak, this wooden house built, before Stalin. And then my father's ministry, they built these houses for their nomenclatura, okay, let's say like this. Look, this is my dedushka's collection.
This is Sasha's grandfather's gramophone, wind up by handle, and it's made of, it looks like polished mahogany and brass.
Der Kranken Schneider, the ill man who is making clothing. In Yiddish. My grandmother, before the Second World War, was a singer in Ukraine. She was born in Shtetl, near Chernobyl, by the way. She sang in the Chernigov Opera. They've been lucky enough to escape from Ukraine at the last train before the occupation to Uzbekistan, Samarkand. And they've been during the Second World War there. And then when they returned back to Ukraine, house was destroyed, all the documents was destroyed, and my grandmother's uncle brought them to Moscow. My mother's side is from Belarus. Also from Shtetl, also been evacuated before the war. So grandmother, her husband perished on the front. He was a photographer from planes, pictures of location of German troops. And they were being shooted, and they jumped down with a parachute, and they've been taken by Germans. They asked, "Are you Jewish?" And grandfather said no, and they, I'm sorry, took down his trousers, and they realized that he was a Jewish, and they immediately killed him. Grandfather was killed 24th of August 1942, the day of the birthday of my grandmother. She came to the market to buy some fruits to celebrate her birthday. She was very beautiful, and she was absolutely fantastic singer. And she found an old man sitting on the pavement with accordion, playing and singing in Ukrainian language, a Ukrainian folk song. And she started singing with him. And because her voice was so beautiful, she was surrounded with many people from this market, and they listened to her, and they started applauding her. The guy who played the accordion, he was blind. He couldn't see her face at all. And he stopped playing, and he said, "Divchina," means girl, you are very beautiful, you are very talented, but you are very unhappy because today is your birthday, and today your husband died at the front. Can you imagine that? She started crying, and she rushed back home, and in a week, she got the paper, Paharonka, that her husband died 24th of August 1942. So grandmother stopped singing, and at one night she became absolutely grey. She never ever marry again. She was living in this apartment. That was her apartment. Always just a good mother, a Yiddish mama for father.
Neider auf der Welt, ich lebe scheu der Littikel, nehmt on das Arfarflucht in euch, als das ist Leben, was ist euch.
And your grandfather on the other side, you knew him well, don't you?
Yes, of course, yes. He passed away when he was 96 years old, and he was a member of the Jewish community here since 1914. He was born in 1907 at the same place where Marc Chagall was born. And they both used to go to the same Cheder. Grandfather studied to be an assistant of Cantor to lead the service. He was very religious, in his soul. And after the pogroms, his family escaped to Moscow. Grandfather was a member of the Jewish community through the whole socialist regime, but it was almost illegal. In everyday life, he was secular. On Shabbat and holidays, he came to the synagogue, but doors was closed, light was half LED, so it was interesting life. It's another story. And he died when he was 96 years old in 2003. That is the story of my family. Can you imagine that? It's like regards from before the revolution time. And we made a lot of arrangements for my Jewish choir from these songs. We picked up these melodies because nobody knew them now.
В Африке реки вот такой ширины. Крокодилы-бегемоты. Обезьяны кашелоты.
She's so sweet.
What? Who?
Your daughter.
Oh yes, I know. I know that she's sweet. You know what? That she's singing all the repertoire of the BDH. Look, Sonia.
Let's do it.
Sonia.
The Bedecha. It was the children's choir of the Soviet Union, led by the renowned and demanding conductor Viktor Popov.
That was our bright spot in a dark life in the Soviet Union. That was what kept us alive in that swamp. I liked very much to listen radio, and I heard this choir all the time. And I repeat these songs from the morning till the evening until my mother became completely mad. And then it was a reclama advertisement at the radio that they are inviting new people to this choir. You had to be a member of the musical school, or you at least had some musical background. And I was studying with the private teacher piano. I was 6 years old. And I said, Mother, I want to go there, please. And I made hysterica at home. They didn't want, actually, at the beginning. Then they brought me, and we had прослушивание. Means, like a small exam.
Like
And
audition.
audition, yes, right, completely. And I sang, and Viktor Popov told to my mother, seems to me that his voice is a little bit cracked. So you go to the voice doctor, and please, he will inspect, because we are singing from the morning till the evening, and it's dangerous for health. The main reason was because my name was a little bit incorrect, and they didn't want to take another Jewish boy, I believe. So we came to this doctor, and it was funny because the doctor's name was something like Rabinovich. The doctor inspected my throat, and he said, no, you will sing much longer than you expect. So everything is okay.
Гурьев, слова Татаринова, октябрята идут.
First of all, this choir was like royalty. It was very honorable to join such a choir, because that choir was always on screen, always on radio, and if you are a member of that choir, you are a real special boy or girl, because this choir travel really a lot. They travel through the whole country of Soviet Union. We performed in plants, we performed in prisons. Ukraine, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, everywhere.
Что я теперь счастливее всех на свете. У меня назови всем свободом.
I remember concerts in the Bolshoi Theater every 8th of March, this International Women's Day. And it was a song about the dog Мой щенок похож немного на бульдога и на дога. And then Brezhnev and Tereshkova and other people from the Politburo was sitting in the stall on stage. And Popov was conducting. Yes, I sang a solo. And then my main solo part was I was barking in between of couplets. На собаку водолаза и на всех овчарок сразу. And then I... Brezhnev was sitting and napping during that concert. And when I started barking, he used to like woke up and make, move of his head. It was so funny. The schedule, my schedule was incredible, nobody believed. In the morning, when I woke up, like zombie, I came to the secondary school from 8:30 in the morning until 1 o'clock. Then I come back, eat something on the way, and I came with a cello to the secondary musical school. Then after that, instead of preparing home tasks for the next day, my grandmother brought me to Smolenskaya metro station, to the old school where was a rehearsal with the children choir. From 7 o'clock in the evening until almost 9:30, 3 days a week. Then, if we had the recording that night, they put us in a big studio number 5, this historical studio, and we record through the night until maybe 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, kids. And then metro was closed. Parents who had cars came and pick up kids, bring them back home unconscious like this. And children who had no cars in family, we slept near the studio until the first metro.
Where did you
in the
sleep?
lobby. Yes, I remember that.
Just in your coat?
Yes, in my coat. It was a wild job. For example, it was an order from Communist Party, from Minister of Culture, that in 5 days your choir must sing this new cantata about something. It should be ready. And the whole country knew that besides that choir, nobody could do that. I became a conductor because of this children choir, I think.
It formed your love, being in the choir?
Yes, it was the beginning of my career. Yes, absolutely.
And your incredibly busy schedule?
I live in this schedule until now. I mean, that it was disease, very, very, very strong disease that I can't recover until today. Let's go. Вы поехали? Ну быстро, сейчас что-нибудь, потому что нам до ночи. Пойдем быстро. This road goes directly from Kremlin to Rublovka, to this famous place where all these new Russians have their castles. You know that they surround the places where they live with incredibly high fences, so you actually can't see too much. And they have, sometimes houses of unbelievable size. Алло? Да. Maybe I'm completely stupid. For me, in many, many ways, time then was better than now. At least culture, academic studies, arts, support of government. We had Richter, Neigaus, Gilels, Shostakovich, Prokofiev. Today we are free. Where are them all? Where are them? Okay, this is a song written by Isaac Dunaevsky, a very, very famous Soviet composer, a favorite of Stalin, a Jewish man, and his grandfather was a cantor in the synagogue somewhere in Ukraine. Of course, Stalin didn't know that. He was one of the most popular composers in Soviet Union, and he created almost all music for Soviet films. We decided to perform that music as example how Jewish music transformed in our country, because it was strictly forbidden, the religious music and the Jewish prayers and Russian Orthodox prayers as well, how this music transformed into the Soviet songs. That's almost the same intonations, almost the same harmonies. Very, very interesting. Okay? Solist Grigory Tkachenko. when gates, this metal curtain, how you go, shield, iron curtain was lifted up, hundreds and thousands of people, Jewish, immigrated from this country. And a little bit later, because of the Jewish choir, I said to my parents, I don't want to go because I believe that it will be very good here. And I have a choir, I'm a young man conducting with a choir in the Bolshoi hall of the Moscow Conservatory. Who give me a chance in England or in America? My father got a permission from German embassy to immigrate to Germany for the whole family. And I said no. By that time I was like 6 or 7 times in Germany, and they said, what will I do there? Who need me there? They said, Sasha, you may be crazy. And now I could believe that father maybe was right, because times really changed and very difficult. For the culture, for the culture.
Whenever I speak to Sasha, he's always full of dreams for the future, for his choir, for his country. Tomorrow is always going to be better than the troubles of today.
Nobody needs that Jewish choir in this country anymore. Absolutely nobody. This type of music, very narrow circle of people could understand what we are doing, for what reason we're doing that. It's a paradox. The choir for Jewish community is not Jewish enough because, first of all, not everybody are Jews in the choir. We are secular people, most of us, and for Russians, we are too Jewish. This is difficult. We hope for the better future, what can I say? But I'm a happy person actually, because I completely love every single moment of what I'm doing.